So I'm going to stay with the theme, and the theme is sell-off in crude and a drawdown in commodities. But is sugar an exceptionally different commodity? It's a commodity where dynamics are different. It's a commodity where cycle is different, and it's a commodity where the peak season in India comes around Diwali Dashera, which coincides also with the crushing season. What are the trends in the sugar space? And specifically, what should we expect from Shree Renuka as a company in coming quarters? Atul Chaturvedi, Executive Chairman of Shree Renuka Sugars, joins us. Atul, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Very, very good morning to you.
Should one get worried about the sugar cycle, looking at the way how maize prices, cotton prices, copper prices, orange juice prices, thank God chocolate and coffee prices have come down. But should I be worried about, as an investor, about sugar cycle also getting punctured?
No, why should you be worried? Because when the commodity boom happened in the last 6 months or so, sugar remained relatively stable. Sugar didn't go through the roof, unlike the other commodities like edible oils or cotton or the metal space. So sugar remained relatively stable. And even in the Indian context, when the edible oil and other commodity prices were going through the roof, sugar was probably the only commodity which was relatively unscathed. It remained in the 32, 33 rupees a kilo range, and which still is the scene. And as far as the cyclicality which you talked about is concerned, I think the phase of cyclical nature of this industry has changed and changed big time. And I would go to the extent of saying that sugar now as a sector is probably the sunshine sector in India, and also one of the front runners as far as changing over to green energy is concerned. So ethanol has definitely been a big game changer. Can you imagine? India this year has exported something like almost close to about 10 million tons of sugar and diverted about 3.5 million tons of sugar cane juice directly to ethanol, and still the local domestic prices have remained where they are. So I think excess of sugar production is no longer a problem, and because now we have a very good outlet in the form of exports, and the rupee weakness is also helping in that phase, and the ethanol diversion is also ensuring that the stock buildup doesn't really happen as far as the sugar sector is concerned. And the cyclicality of the sugar, because largely one of the biggest problems of the sugar industry in India has been that you crush for 4 or 5 months and then sell the sugar for the next 10 to 12 months. No longer now. Now, because when your crushing the season is on, and that's the time when you're diverting cane juice directly into ethanol. And oil marketing companies, they're relatively good paymasters. So it helps the cash flows of the sugar industry. So I would go to the extent of saying that sugar as a sector is now getting re-rated, and there's no reason why it should not be re-rated.
Assuming that government releases the 1.2 million ton export quota, assuming that that is released in the next 10 to 12 days, what happens to the near-term supply-demand imbalance? Obviously, if export increases, that will have impact on the buffer stock.
No, absolutely not. In fact, I think the government has been actually erring on the side of extreme caution because their own experience as far as wheat is concerned has not been all that happy. So they've actually erred on the side of caution. Now suddenly they've realized that the production number which they were working on, probably actually the production is much higher than what the government was actually initially thinking. And in fact, this year, I would go to the extent of saying that all the analysts, including us, as well as the government, have been absolutely wrong as far as the sugar or cane numbers are concerned. This year, if you look at the scenario, India started off with an opening stock of something like about 8.5 million tons. And our production is about 36 million tons of sugar and about 3.5 million tons of diversion of sucrose to ethanol. So effectively, our production of sugar this year has been 39.5 million tons. And a consumption is not more than about 27 and a half. So we've got adequate stocks even at the end of the year, even if government allows additional 1 or 1.2 million tons of sugar, we would still close the year with about anything between 6 to 6.5 million tons, which is sufficient for minimum 3 months stock. And let me also add that the rain gods, for a change, seem to be Indian. And Indradev is definitely Indian. So the sugarcane producing areas of Maharashtra and Karnataka have got fantastic rains, and there's no reason why this year our production might actually top previous year's scenario.
Mr. Chaturvedi, hi there, good morning. So what about ethanol? Because that contributes 13 to 15% of the revenue. So how much contribution can we expect in the long haul, given the fact that you're talking about increasing demand, ethanol blending as well picking up, and exports rising?
So ethanol definitely, as far as the sugar sector is concerned, this year has diverted about 3.5 million tons. Next year, we feel we will be diverting close to about 4.5 million tons. And as a sector, I think next year India would be closer to about a blending ratio of anything between 12 to 14%. This year, at the moment, the blending ratio is about 10.12 or thereabouts. As far as contribution of ethanol to the revenue mix of a sugar factory is concerned, I think now if we, as far as Renuka is concerned, if we remove the revenues from our the refineries, then it could be closer to about almost 35 to 40% going forward. Because in any case, we are doubling our capacity. And you rightly pointed out that ethanol demand is pretty robust. And the petrol consumption also seems to be on the rise. In fact, if the press reports are correct, last June, I think the petrol consumption has gone up by about 20%. So overall, it's a good time, and ethanol play is going to be one of the big game changers as far as the sugar sector is concerned.
Good morning. So can I ask you, sir, that if this is going to be a game changer and you want to double your capacity as well, what kind of a capex upcycle can we expect, a capex uptick can we expect from the company?
No, we have already, we are in the process of expanding already. In fact, the expansion started about 6-8 months back, and we would be catching the next season. On a rough calculation or back of the envelope calculation, it's about 1 crore per KL. So that means if we are expanding our capacity by about 700 KL, it would be closer to about 700 crores. But this is all tied up. In fact, it's old story now, because now we are nearing the commissioning phase in the next 3 to 4 months. We hope to actually catch the next crushing season this year.
Okay, so that's as far as the ethanol play goes. The sugar stocks have been in a sweet spot. Also asking the government if they can increase the export limit to 11 million tons so they can free up the inventory that they have from the previous sugar crushing, from the sugar season as well. Thank you so much for joining us live today right here on the show.